Guinevere and Garrett sat on the edge of the city bell tower. The moon was full that night. They had since returned to the city, after the thief was certain that his apprentice was fully healed. Although he still hadn't told Guinevere about the new allegations against him. He knew that she would never agree to return if he had. No normal person would. But once again, the thief's arrogance had prevailed. The Watch had been searching for him for years, and they hadn't managed to catch him yet. What persistence would one more smudge on his criminal record bring? Those overfed dogs were about as lazy and unmotivated as they came. He glanced over at Guinevere. She was swinging her legs back and forth as they dangled from the rooftop, a gleeful smile pasted across her face.
"You look happy,"
Garrett commented.
"I am,"
she replied, her eyes still taking in the smoky world below.
"The city is always so beautiful at night."
"You're not the first to notice."
The thief grunted, stretching slightly. He placed a firm, yet loving hand around her shoulder, causing the nymph to look up into his awaiting expression.
"It's nice to finally have someone to share it with."
"I love how the moon reflects the rooftops after a rain. Have you ever noticed that, Garrett?"
"Yeah."
He smiled sadly.
I never told anyone that before. It seems that I've told you so many things that no one else knows."
Guinevere explained. The thief's cunning eyes sparkled at her tender sentiment. His caring expression made her feel a tiny bit better, and she released the persistent thought at the base of her mind.
Can I tell you something else?"
"Of course."
Guinevere suddenly grew very sad. She faced Garrett, and instantly, he could see that his first impressions regarding her mood had been very badly mistaken. She wasn't gleeful at all. She was apprehensive.
"Guinevere, you don't have to tell me if you don't want to."
"No,
She sighed, running a hand through her unkempt auburn hair. Guinevere shuddered suddenly. Then, she held her face in her hands, and began to weep softly.
"Guinevere."
I don't know what I should do. I want the voices in my head to stop, and yet some part of me feels that what they have to say is important. But how could this be, Garrett? They tell me to kill people."
Guinevere brooded over this for a moment, and Garrett thought she wouldn't continue. However, she did, and with a voice that poorly hid the torture behind her words.
"Forgive me. This is awkward. I've never talked openly like this to anyone. I never had any friends until I met you."
Garrett scooched closer to her, wrapping his cloak around her trembling shoulders. A flock of ravens flew off into the night as 12 hollow chimes echoed throughout the city. The forte of beautiful bells would normally have caused the shy little creature to jump. But Guinevere was now too completely lost to even hear them. Very little had been expected of her, and she had delivered even less. She had never yearned for anything, except to alleviate any and all suffering from the man-creatures she encountered, to bring joy and life into this dead city. Never had she questioned her place in the world. purpose had been all but a foreign word to her. She existed, nothing more. Until now. She slowly rose to meet the eyes of her teacher, her own optics still glazed over and lost.
He told me, you know?
Who told you what, Guinevere?
The temple keeper. Before we left, he told me that I had to make a decision.
Oh?
Already, Garrett did not like the sound of this.
And what would that be?
You do know what I am, right? Whose blood flows through my veins.
Yes. All too well.
The thief snorted, simultaneously tracing the scar that ran along his right eye.
The temple keeper said that I had one last chance to embrace my status as a deity. I don't know what to do.
She stammered.
That depends. Do you want to be a goddess, Guinevere?
Not as such.
Her answer surprised him. Although he now knew all too well that Guinevere was not a power-hungry noble, this particular decision was more than just a matter of status or wealth. This was the option to partake in a ritual as old as time. A ritual that would open up her soul to the abyss of time and space, awakening an absolute and unquestionable power within her. Garrett almost asked her why she would deign to desire such a power, but he was nervous about accidentally persuading her. And he could be very persuasive.
Guinevere, it's your decision, not mine.
What would you do, Garrett?
She asked, in an almost fearful tone. Her question was so unexpected that it caused the weary thief to chuckle. Guinevere fumed.
Hey, why are you laughing at me?
I'm sorry, Guinevere. It's just, I never gave the idea of becoming a god much thought. It's not one of my usual fantasies anyway.
He sighed and began again in a far more serious voice.
But joking aside, I can't even begin to fathom what you just asked me. Like I already told you, this is a choice that you have to make all on your own.
How?
Guinevere, when the time comes to make that choice, you'll know.
His eyes grew distant and mournful.
Believe me.
But how? How will I know?
She demanded.
I don't feel things the way normal people do, Garrett. You once told me that my mother was above human reasoning. Remember?
Yes, I remember.
Well, sometimes, as much as I would like to pretend otherwise, sometimes I think that I am too.
Guinevere.
Guinevere's lip quivered for a moment, and she tore her gaze away from his. The thief frowned. The pain he could feel coming from his nymph was heartbreaking. Placing both hands gently on her cheeks, Garrett locked eyes with her.
You may be a nymph. You may be the daughter of a vindictive god. But don't think for even a moment that you lack empathy.
Garrett? Is it?
Guinevere started, staring up at him as pitifully as a lost child.
Is it normal to want to be with someone forever?
Garrett felt as the blood rushed away from his face. His eyes flew open, and his left pupil dilated. Even his mechanized eye seemed to involuntarily sputter and hiss. Was that why she was having such a difficult time deciding? Did she want to stay with him? He hesitated. It wasn't the fact that he didn't want to answer her question. Garrett genuinely didn't know how.
A lot of people seem to think so.
Have you ever felt that way about someone?
Again, her words caught him unguarded.
I'm honestly not sure, Guinevere.
The thief leaned in and kissed her lightly, as the tears continued to fall from her celadon eyes.
But if you're suggesting what I think you are...
Her hand met his, and Guinevere returned the kiss, more deeply, a searing need behind her lips. She nearly gasped when he abruptly pulled away.
What's the matter?
Guinevere, I'm unsure if I can indeed give you what you want.
He looked upon her confused expression through saddened eyes.
Garrett?
The thief wanted so badly to turn around at that moment and embrace her, but something inside told him not to. He struggled to fight the feeling off as he continued to walk away.
Garrett, please.
Guinevere pleaded. Garrett winced at what he was about to do. But it had to be done. She was getting too close to him, and he could never give such a perfect creature what she sought. He wasn't forever material. He hung his head. It was like a pain he'd never experienced before, and he knew that it was no doubt even worse for Guinevere. However, he had his reasons for inflicting it. Garrett had long known how feelings could distort and skew the world. Why else would Guinevere choose him over the destiny of a goddess? It was pure madness. The thief hoped that his blunt statement would allow her to put things in perspective, and hopefully make a wise decision regarding her future. As much as it tore him apart, Garrett never wanted to be selfish about his feelings for her. He wanted the best for Guinevere. He always had. And as selfish as he was, Garrett knew that keeping the last remaining nymph on Earth to himself was very wrong.
Truth is, I want to say yes.
He stared blankly out over the expanse of slumbering city beneath him.
But, Guinevere, you by now have no doubt noticed how much older than you I am. Even if you did forego your powers, even if we did remain together the rest of my days, I would still die long before you do.
I've made up my mind. No matter what you do, I'm not leaving your side,
she proclaimed. Garrett watched as she retracted a familiar green orb from her pouch. The woodsy emerald.
Guinevere, no!
Garrett barked, well aware of what she planned to do with said relic. Guinevere's eyes sparkled as she cast it down into the city below. The thief watched as the glistening object careened through the night, landing unseen on the cobbles below with a distant shatter. His eyes once more met those of his apprentice.
I know what you tried to do, Garrett. And believe me, you're far more noble than you give yourself credit for. But my decision was made the night I ran away. I still have so much to learn from you. So many people in this city that need my help. Being with you didn't influence my choice in the least. You're only guilty of one crime in my book, Master Thief.
And what would that be?
Saving me.
She smiled, bringing her face up with his as they shared another passionate kiss.
That doesn't seem like much of a crime.
Garrett smirked, the harsh winter storm whipping across his cloak.
There are plenty of evil people in this world that would disagree with you. They want me dead, Garrett, because they have plans that will kill everyone and everything. The forest is a small price to pay if it means that I can save the world instead.
The thief continued to hold her, his body afire with Guinevere's presence.
Do you really intend to do that? Save the world? How would you even know where to start?
It's simple. I have a great teacher.
She winked.